There is a kind of silence that frightens people more than any argument ever could. Not the silence of someone who has nothing to say, the silence of someone who has finally seen everything. That is the silence you have been living in lately, and the people around you have noticed. They may be acting calm, they may be smiling, carrying on, pretending nothing has shifted, but something inside them is unsettled because you are no longer responding the way you used to respond. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped chasing their approval like it was air. Your replies became shorter, your presence became calmer, your energy became harder to reach, harder to pull, harder to move, and they felt every bit of it. They are not disturbed because you disappeared. People disappear all the time. They are disturbed because the access is gone. The door they used to walk through whenever they wanted, the door to your reactions, your guilt, your endless patience, that door has quietly closed. So understand this from the very beginning. What they fear most is not your anger. Anger they know how to handle. What they fear is the silence of someone who finally understands everything. Welcome to Chosen Aura, where the misunderstood, the awakened, and the spiritually chosen are reminded that their pain was never the end of their story. It was the place where their power returned. If you have ever been made to feel that your quietness was coldness, that your boundaries were cruelty, that your peace was pride, then stay with me tonight. Because this message is going to put words to something your spirit has been carrying in silence. And if this already feels like confirmation, if something in your chest is already saying yes, subscribe to Chosen Aura before you go further. What I am about to share with you is not motivation. This is confirmation, and you need to hear all of it. So let me tell you the truth about this silence you have entered. This silence is not random. It is not emptiness. It is not you falling apart, even though some days it has felt that way. This silence is awareness. This silence is your spirit, finally speaking louder than your mouth ever could. You did not go quiet because you became weak. You went quiet because your spirit has seen enough. There is a point a soul reaches where it stops negotiating, stops defending, stops performing, not out of defeat, but out of clarity. And you have reached that point. This message is going to show you why your silence is disturbing certain people, why some of them are now trying so hard to provoke you, why your peace still feels unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable, like something you have not earned yet, even though you have, and why your quietness may be the single clearest sign that your soul has finally awakened. The silence is not punishment. I need you to release that guilt right now. The silence is protection. It is clarity. It is divine separation doing its quiet work. By the end of this message, you will understand something that will change how you see every difficult relationship in your life. You will understand why they were comfortable with your pain, but terrified of your peace. Let me start with what changed. For a long time, certain people in your life were used to pulling emotion out of you. They knew exactly which button to press. They knew how to trigger you, how to guilt you, how to confuse you, how to make you defend a heart that was never on trial. It was almost a rhythm. They acted, you reacted. They accused, you explained. They wounded, you forgave and returned. But then your silence interrupted the rhythm. You stopped reacting to the bait. You stopped answering every false accusation as if it deserved a response. You stopped over-explaining your heart to people who had already decided to misunderstand you. You stopped pouring emotional fuel into situations that only ever drained you and left you empty. And here is what they did not expect. Your calmness began to expose their need for chaos. Because some people do not actually want resolution. They want the drama. The drama is how they feel connected. The drama is how they avoid looking at themselves. And when you stopped feeding the fire, listen closely because this is important. The people who started that fire had to stand in their own smoke, alone, with nothing to blame but the thing they built. And that is uncomfortable for them, deeply uncomfortable, but it is not your job to rescue them from it anymore. Now here is the part that hurts. Because it does hurt. They do not only miss you, they miss the version of you that they could control, sit with that even though it stings. They miss the version of you that tolerated disrespect and called it loyalty, the version that forgave without ever requiring change, the version that always came back no matter how deep the wound, the version that carried emotional weight that was never yours to carry and carried it without complaint. They miss your availability, not your soul, your availability. They miss your patience, specifically the patience that benefited them. They miss the way you made excuses for their behavior, so they would never have to make excuses for themselves. They miss the way you would blame yourself quietly just to keep a fragile peace alive. And your silence is telling them something they do not want to hear. It is telling them that version of you may never be coming back. This is why your silence feels like rejection to them, not because you rejected them as people, but because your healing removed their control. And to someone who only knew you through control, the loss of control feels exactly like loss of love. But that was never love. That was access. And you have every right to take it back. So let me tell you what your silence actually is. Your silence is the sound of discernment. You are not quiet because you have nothing to say. You are quiet because you are finally listening. You are watching now. You are observing now. You are understanding now in a way you could not understand when your mouth was always moving, always explaining, always trying to be heard. You no longer rush to respond. You let things sit. You let people reveal themselves. You watch the pattern instead of reacting to the single word. You can feel now when an apology has no repentance behind it, when it is just sound, just a tool to reset the cycle. You can sense when kindness is being used as a mask. You can feel the difference between someone who is sorry and someone who is simply sorry they got caught, and you are learning something that took you years of pain to learn. Not every battle deserves your voice. Not every accusation deserves your defense. Not every room deserves your full presence, because a chosen one becomes truly dangerous in the spirit the moment they stop arguing and start discerning. An arguing person can be predicted. A discerning person cannot be controlled. But understand this. When people lose access to your reactions, they rarely just accept it. Most of the time they try harder, so do not be surprised by the pressure you have been feeling lately. The testing, the provocation. When someone can no longer pull emotion out of you the easy way, they start reaching for the harder tools. They bring up the past. They twist your silence into a story. They accuse you of changing, as if changing were a betrayal and not a sign of life. They may call you cold simply because you are no longer easy to reach. They may call you proud simply because you stopped begging for a peace that was never honored. They may begin telling stories about you because a story is the last form of control available to someone who can no longer control you directly. They may push at your boundaries again and again, just to see if the old you is still alive somewhere in there. Just to see if they can wake him up, wake her up. But here is what your silence is proving with every day that passes. You have outgrown the trap. And understand the real test. The test is not whether they provoke you. They will. The test is whether you return to the version of yourself that barely survived them. That is the only thing at stake here. Not their opinion, not their comfort, just whether you go back, and you are not going back. Now here is something your silence is doing that you may not have fully realized. Your silence is revealing their true nature. When you stop speaking, people show you who they really are. It is almost mechanical. Some people will respect your space. Those are rarer than you hoped and more precious than you knew. Others will panic, they will attack, they will gossip, they will guilt trip, they will suddenly become the victim of a story you did not write. Your silence becomes a mirror, and not everyone can stand in front of a mirror. Silence shows you who genuinely cared about you and who only ever wanted access to you. Silence exposes who respected your boundaries and who quietly depended on breaking them. Silence reveals who is patient with your healing and who is possessive of your attention. The conversation used to hide all of this. Your words used to fill in the gaps, smooth the edges, give people the benefit of a doubt they had not earned. But now there are no words to hide behind, and you are finally seeing people clearly, without the filter of your own hope laid over them. That is what your hope used to do. It used to paint people as who you wished they were. And the silence has removed the paint. What you are seeing now is not bitterness, it is just sight. Sometimes you are led into a quiet season, precisely so the truth can speak for itself, without you having to say a single word. And while all of that is being revealed around you, something powerful is happening within you. You are taking your power back, and you are doing it without saying a word. Understand? Your silence is not passive. It only looks passive from the outside. On the inside, it is an act of spiritual authority. Every day you stay quiet, you are making a decision. You are refusing to spend your sacred energy on people, places, and patterns that do not honor your soul. You are no longer proving your worth to people who were committed to doubting it. You are no longer performing your pain just to earn a little sympathy. You are no longer defending your boundaries as if they were crimes you needed a lawyer for. You are choosing peace over performance, and that is one of the hardest choices a person can make, because performance gets applause and peace often gets misunderstood. Your silence is saying something very clear, even though it uses no words. It is saying, I see it, I understand it, and I am not returning to it. And hear this, because it may be the most important line in this entire message. The most powerful moment of your life may not be loud at all. It may be the quiet moment you stop announcing your exit, stop threatening to leave, stop explaining why you should leave, and you simply leave what drains you. No speech, no final argument, just the quiet authority of someone who is done. But I want you to understand that this season is not only about other people, it runs deeper than that. God is teaching you the strength of restraint. This quiet season is a season of spiritual maturity. You are being taught something most people never learn, that strength is not always expressed through confrontation. Sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is hold their peace when every part of them wants to prove a point. Not every accusation needs your defense. Not every lie needs your correction. Not every person has earned the right to access your inner world, your reasoning, your private thoughts. You were giving those things away freely for years, and this season is teaching you their value. Here is the spiritual truth underneath all of it. You can be vindicated without arguing. You can be proven without performing. When something greater than you is defending your name, you do not have to exhaust yourself trying to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Your silence actually creates the space for divine justice to move. When you stop trying to do it all yourself, by force, by explanation, by emotional labor, you leave room for it to be done for you. That is not weakness. That is the highest form of trust, and it is being built in you right now in the quiet. And this is why the people around you are so unsettled. Your peace is making them face themselves. When your energy is no longer in the room, they have nothing to distract them from their own behavior. Your reaction used to be the distraction. Your explanation used to be the escape hatch. As long as you were defending yourself, they never had to examine themselves. The argument kept everyone busy, but your silence removed their ability to rewrite the moment. They cannot argue their way into being right when there is no argument. Your calmness denied them the drama they were expecting and prepared for. Your distance forced them to actually notice what they lost, not while you were fighting for them, but only now, in the quiet, when there is nothing left to fight. Your peace made their unrest visible, not because you exposed them, you did nothing. Their own reflection did it. And understand this clearly so the guilt does not creep back in. You are not punishing anyone. You are protecting yourself. Those are not the same thing, no matter how they try to frame it. This is the real reason they panic. Your silence has become evidence. Evidence that you finally, after all this time, chose yourself. So now I have to give you a warning. Because this is where many people lose the very thing they fought to gain. Do not break your silence for the wrong door. Now that you have entered this sacred quiet season, do not run back to old doors just because guilt called your name in a lonely moment. And it will. Loneliness will come. Pressure will come. The memory of who they used to be on the good days will come. And in those moments, you will be tempted to reach back. Do not respond just because they became uncomfortable. Their discomfort is not your assignment. Do not explain yourself just because they act confused. Confusion is sometimes a strategy, not a state. Do not reopen access just because they say they miss your energy. Of course they miss it. It was carrying them. And please, hear this one carefully. Do not mistake guilt for compassion. They feel similar in the body. They are not the same. Guilt pulls you backward into what hurt you. Compassion does not require you to abandon yourself. Let your silence finish the work that your words could never complete. Your words tried for years. Your words explained, negotiated, forgave, repeated themselves. And nothing changed. Give the silence a chance to do what the words could not. Because the next version of you is being built in this quiet place. And not everyone deserves to hear the construction. Not everyone gets to watch you become who you are becoming. So let me speak to you directly now as this message comes to its close. Your silence is not cruelty. Your silence is not weakness. It is not bitterness, and it is not pride. No matter how many times those words have been thrown at you, your silence is clarity. It is the sound of someone who has finally stopped abandoning themselves just to keep other people comfortable. So release the guilt. Release the need to explain yourself to people who were never listening to understand. Release the urge to chase, to defend, to justify. Release the habit of handing emotional access to people who only ever valued you when you were easy to control. Stay calm, stay prayerful, stay observant, stay free. Your silence is not empty. Understand that tonight. Your silence is full. It is full of wisdom. It is full of healing. It is full of discernment and divine protection. It is one of the most powerful things you currently own. And before you go, do something for your own spirit. If this message confirmed what you have been feeling but could not explain, like this video so it can reach the next person who is being pressured to speak when they are being divinely taught to be still. Leave a comment with the words, "My silence is my power." Say it where your own eyes can see it. Subscribe to Chosen Aura so you do not have to walk these quiet seasons without confirmation. And share this with someone you know who is being pushed to respond, to explain, to react. When God is clearly teaching them restraint, they may need this exact message tonight. This is Chosen Aura, where the chosen remember their power. You were not broken, you were being prepared, you were not forgotten, you were being hidden, and now the same life that tried to bury you is about to witness you rise.